What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven here with your afternoon snap, and today we have got a brand new card releasing into the game with Ares. I'll pull it up on the screen here so we can see Ares is a 4-cost card, making it a perfect addition to RSM decks. And while RSM decks do have a little bit more variance in them, typically they will have among the highest curves of decks, especially in the current metagame, meaning you are pretty likely to win the war against most common decks that people are playing right now. Of course, metagame's gonna change a little bit with the OTA and patches and things, and the fact that some people will be playing even more dedicated Ares decks. I'll talk more about that in just a second, but I do think that being able to play Ares on turn 3 for 12 power is really good in an Iron Patriot metagame, and also that works pretty well with the new location that we're going to get, Asgard Besieged. I'm kind of covering up the location picture there that Ben Brode is looking into, but Asgard Besieged says after turn 3, add the Destroyer to the winning side of this location. That is a ton of points and can really punish opponents for playing anything in any other location. It really means that whoever wins that location could have a really great chance to win the game. So for the Asgard Besieged release day, I think that playing Ares is a really powerful potential strategy that I do think a lot of players are going to want to explore. I did also want to bring up this, if people don't remember it from the Dark Avengers season preview video. This is what the animation for Ares looks like. So you're not going to see your opponent's cards, they're not going to see yours. What you're going to see is the total power of the top 3 cards of both players' decks. And there are some other ways to play into this that I think are a little bit cheeky. If you are running Magic, creating a turn 7 with Limbo, and your opponent is not playing RSM, then if you play your Ares on the final turn of the game, they're only going to have 2 cards that get to contribute to this calculation. Meanwhile, you're still going to have a full RSM deck, so it just gives you a much higher chance to win this Ares war. There are some other cute ideas that you could do to help you win by sort of messing with your opponent's deck, either through Mill, which is also a deck that plays Limbo. If you can make your opponent run out of cards, that's pretty cool. And also, if you give your opponent some rocks, then you might strand them with some low values in there and be able to easily win the war, I think is just what I'm calling it, because yeah, you're just adding up the power of the tops of your deck. So I'm calling it the Ares war here. I think that's what they refer to it in this video as well. I don't think that most of those ways to win the war are really worth considering, to be honest. I think that those are all a little bit silly, but I do think the ability for RSM to play this card on turn 3 for 12 power does seem really good, both against Iron Patriot and with the new Asgard location that we're getting. And speaking of Asgard, Ares is kind of a nombo with the other Asgardians. Thor shuffling Mjolnir into your deck and Beta Ray Bill shuffling in the Stormbreaker are not going to contribute too much power into the Ares war, though interestingly, if you get a 7-turn game with Limbo and you've drawn the Mjolnir or the Stormbreaker, then at least that still keeps 3 other cards in your deck to contribute power to Ares. One other thing that I don't think is going to work is ongoing cards. I don't believe that they will contribute to the Ares calculation, so you'll probably want to keep those on the sidelines. As well, cards that get power from on-reveal abilities like Black Panther or the Asgardians that I mentioned, like Ares itself, will not be able to contribute as much as, well, basically all of the cards in this screenshot. We see Sasquatch, Infinite, She-Hulk. Those ones are a little bit not typical. Mainly, I think we're going to see a lot of Coal Obsidian and Surtur as the main ways to take advantage of Ares is just going to be with Surtur and Scar, which Ares can pump up Surtur and allow you to get a cheaper Scar. Also, though, it's just really good in these decks because they're playing a bunch of other cards with 10 or more power, which will give you huge values like we can see in this screenshot to allow you to win the Ares War. While you don't get perfect information by this screen by any means, you do still get some information. For instance, like this screenshot, seeing a 2 here probably means that your opponent is about to draw some rocks, and that can be snappable info. So I think that that is really interesting. Also, by playing this with Arishem or by playing Ares in a Surtur Scar deck, then you're giving up less information because your opponent isn't going to be able to reasonably make decisions about the numbers that they're seeing. If you just show them like 2 different 10s, they might not know what 10s those are, and you might be able to get more information out of your opponent depending on what are some of the other cards that you're playing. If you're playing this in a mill deck alongside Cable, or maybe Copycat even, or Baron Zemo, then you do get a little bit more information about what the composition of your opponent's deck and hand are, and can potentially capitalize on that information. One final thing that I sort of just thought of, if you are playing Ares not in Arishem, you can play it on the final turn and know the composition of the cards in your deck and know whether or not you're going to be able to win that Ares battle with a little more information at your disposal. You could also play like Ares on the final turn alongside a Korg potentially, or probably like with Grandmaster. That's probably the best use of your 6 energy. Are you excited about Ares? What are you thinking? I mean, is it going to be good enough, do you think, to bring Surtur and Scar back to a reasonable point in the metagame, which they haven't really seen that much play since Surtur's nerf during its season, but a 412 is a pretty strong incentive, I think, to check out that archetype again. That's gonna be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.